The mysterious disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, an 84-year-old grandmother, has captured the attention of the nation. On January 31st, 2026, Nancy was last seen at her home in the Catalina foothills, Tucson, Arizona. By the early hours of February 1st, she had vanished without a trace, leaving behind vital clues that have only deepened the mystery surrounding her disappearance. Nancy, known for her sharp mind despite her physical limitations, depended on daily medications for her chronic conditions, including a pacemaker. Missing her daily medications would be catastrophic, yet no one knows where she is or if she's still alive. The first signs of something wrong appeared when her pacemaker app, which tracked her health, went silent between 1:45 and 2:30 a.m. on the morning of February 1st, signaling the start of an investigation that would only become more chilling. A family in despair. The search begins. Nancy's absence was quickly noticed by her family, who were worried when she didn't attend church that Sunday morning, a service she never missed. Her family arrived at her home around noon, only to find it eerily quiet with no signs of her. A quick call to 911 set off a chain of events that escalated quickly from a welfare check to a full-scale investigation. Deputies from the Puma County Sheriff's Office were the first on the scene, and what they discovered confirmed the worst fears. Signs of forced entry, a small amount of blood, and a broken door or window frame. Sheriff Chris Nanos immediately made it clear that they believed Nancy had been taken against her will, and homicide detectives were called in, a move that escalated the situation to a level that was deeply concerning. With no clear evidence of where Nancy was or who had taken her, the search intensified. The health crisis. Time is running out. Nancy's medical needs became an urgent concern as the investigation continued. Doctors familiar with cases like hers warned that without her heart medication and other necessary drugs, her health could deteriorate rapidly. Within 24 to 48 hours, the lack of medication could cause weakness, confusion, cardiac events, or even death. Time became the enemy for the Guthrie family, and each passing hour added to their growing anxiety. As volunteers searched the rugged Catalina foothills, helicopters and drones scanned the area in hopes of finding a lead. The search area was vast, and with few clues to follow, the authorities were left scrambling. The only thing they knew for certain was that Nancy had been taken from her home, and the search for her became a race against time. The ransom begins, first signs of a kidnapper. On February 3rd, 2 days after Nancy's disappearance, things took a more sinister turn. Multiple media outlets, including TMZ and local stations like Cold and KGUN, received emails or messages that seemed to be from Nancy's captors. The messages contained demands for millions of dollars in Bitcoin, along with specific wallet addresses and deadlines. The information shared in these messages was too detailed to be random, mentioning things like what Nancy was wearing and specific damage to her home that hadn't been made public. This raised the alarm that these communications were not from opportunists, but from the people who were holding Nancy. Authorities confirmed that they were investigating these ransom notes seriously, with the FBI becoming involved. Savannah Guthrie, Nancy's daughter and co-anchor of NBC's Today Show, was shown the notes for review, but no official word was given on whether they were legitimate or merely cruel hoaxes designed to exploit the situation. The family plea, desperation and hope. By February 4th, the situation had grown more desperate. As the investigation ramped up, the Guthrie family took to social media in a raw and emotional plea for Nancy's safe return. Savannah, Annie, and Cameron posted a video on Instagram that quickly went viral, showing their faces full of exhaustion and fear. Their voices trembled as they thanked the public for their prayers, described their mother's loving nature, and addressed the ransom demands directly. The message was clear. They needed to know that Nancy was alive, and they were ready to listen to whoever had her. The family also shared a personal message to Nancy herself, telling her that they loved her and urging her to stay strong. The video went viral, with millions of people around the world expressing their support and praying for Nancy's safe return. A frantic search, new leads and dead ends. On February 5th, as the search for Nancy continued, investigators returned to her home to process the scene further. New information emerged, narrowing the timeline of her disappearance. The garage door was closed at 9:50 p.m. on January 31st, and the pacemaker app lost connection between 2:12 and 2:30 a.m. on February 1st. The blood on the porch was confirmed to be Nancy's, and authorities reaffirmed that they believed she had been abducted. Despite these discoveries, the authorities still had no suspects or persons of interest. The FBI offered a $50,000 reward for information leading to her recovery, or the capture of the perpetrator. As the investigation continued, tips flooded in, but most led to dead ends. The community, however, rallied together, showing overwhelming support for the Guthrie family. Signs with messages of hope were posted in yards, and vigils were held across Tucson. Another video, another plea. The family holds on. By February 7th, a week into the search, the Guthrie family released another video that shifted the focus of the investigation. This time, the tone was more direct. The family confirmed that they had received a new message from Nancy's captors. They begged for Nancy's safe return, acknowledging the ransom demand and stating that they were willing to pay. The family's plea was emotional and heartfelt, with Savannah, Annie, and Cameron desperately calling for their mother's safe return. The video quickly spread, garnering millions of views and prompting even more public support. The intensity of the family's plea made it clear that they were willing to do whatever it took to bring Nancy home. The ransom demands had now become more urgent, and the question of whether the authorities could find Nancy in time became even more critical. The $6 million ransom, a new deadline. By February 8th, a full week after Nancy's disappearance, the situation had reached a boiling point. Authorities reported that new ransom demands had surfaced, with the captors now requesting $6 million in Bitcoin. A deadline was set for 5 p.m. on Monday, February 9th, with threats to Nancy's life if the demand was not met. This new development added even more urgency to the investigation. The FBI and Puma County Sheriff's Office were working around the clock, trying to piece together the clues and determine the legitimacy of the ransom demand. The question of whether Nancy was still alive, and if so, whether she was receiving the medical care she needed, weighed heavily on the family and the authorities. The investigation had become a race against time, with the deadline looming and no clear answers in sight. The heart of the investigation, the ransom messages. In part 2 of this unfolding tragedy, the focus shifts to the controversial ransom messages that have captivated the nation's attention. Authorities are working tirelessly to determine whether these messages are genuine or part of a twisted game played by the perpetrators. The ransom demands have been a focal point of the investigation, but they have also raised more questions than answers. Who is behind these demands? What is their motive? And most importantly, where is Nancy Guthrie? As the investigation progresses, the public remains on edge, eagerly awaiting any new information that could bring Nancy home. The Guthrie family's pain is palpable, and the community continues to hold on to the hope that Nancy will be found safe and sound.